Hi, this is Eternal King here, bringing you another LOR video today. I wanted to do a proper patch evaluation for the future Eternal season now that it's dropped. Given that a lot of people have been kind of migrating away from LOR as a dying game, I wanted to take the opportunity to look at some of the changes the devs have made, discuss whether they were good or whether they were bad, and kind of my general thought process on them. So we'll start off with Master Yi. So for those who have kind of watched some of my older videos, they'll know that my opinion on two mana champs in LOR is one that they can be a little too strong and a little too toxic for LOR as a game. Um, Nora is a card that is exceptionally impactful in the decks that she's in. I'm going to get to this one later. And Nilla's been buffed a little bit as well in terms of her level up. But thankfully, I don't think she's too bad. Elise, in terms of old school LOR, Jax and Jax decks. And Akshan is an absolute terror. Zoe can solo. Annie can solo. There's just examples of cards in LOR in this sort of lower mana slot being exceptionally powerful. So when I see Master Yi being 2 mana, my question isn't is he going to be good now that he's 1 mana less? My question is, like, how ubiquitous is this 2 mana champ going to be? And that's what I think whenever I see a card, kind of reduce in mana cost that much. Yeah, again, you can just play Master Yi a turn early. You only need 1 mana banked to protect him in most instances, and then you can just start rolling him out to his level and turbo level him much, much faster, which should be very, very easy to do. So Master Yi, I'm not going to say he's going to be the best 2 mana champ in Eternal because we're going to get to that, but I think he's going to be very playable. I think he's going to be an absolute terror. And again, not a direction I like to see the LOR devs moving in, which is just like these big swing changes for certain cards this patch. Like, they're grasping at straws to try to revitalize the game. So one of them is just like make Master Yi insane. And so they've done that. We have the new Master Yi that is going to be an absolute monster. And obviously he's going to level up very fast and kind of pop off a turn early. So very, very good card. Samara unnerfed. This is obviously the worst possible thing they could have done. For those that don't know, who don't play Eternal very much, but Samara Akshan is essentially a deck that allows it to infinitely kind of turbo rally with its 2 mana champs, remove things on curve, be an absolute monster, and basically just solitaire its way through the game. Essentially better than Rise can, but at the 2 mana slot. And then, yeah, Akshan goes in there as well, and Akshan's amazing. So Akshan Samara, the only reason why Master Yi isn't going to be like the best card in Eternal, the best champion in Eternal, is because Samara's back, and Samara Akshan is just going to absolutely dominate the competitive format. It's an automatic 58% win rate deck. There's really nothing to discuss because, again, the deck already existed, and the only reason why it stopped existing is because Samara had to pay 1 mana for her spell, for her flare, and now she doesn't have to do that anymore. So she gets her instantaneous value back, which means that you're going to turbo level her and turbo level Akshan guaranteed with the help of, the 0 mana robots in PNZ. Which is how that deck plays, right? It's a deck that allows you to remove things on curve, play cheap spells to turbo rally, and get out a bunch of free 5/5s with quick attack. And that's, again, nothing's changed. They simply reverted the nerf, so there's absolutely no reason why that deck is not going to instantly go back to being insanely toxic in Eternal. I'm sure Majin's very happy, but again, for any of us who actually want to play this game seriously, beyond the narrow constraints of the most competitive of deck builds, again, those constraints are very narrow. This is problematic because it massively restricts the play space. So this is a case of, like, the director leaves, streamers go to Riot HQ, and then we get this patch that is like big swings and a lot of stupidity and a lot of things that, lessons that have already been learned have been unlearned. We're getting, a new 2 mana monster snowball champion, and they unnerfed the other toxic monster snowball 2 mana champion. The only one proving to be okay is Akshan by himself in a vacuum when he doesn't have Samara support. But he will now, so that's great. So that's really bad. Again, so pushing for that 2 mana champion space, the auto win, snowball, solitaire style of decks. So there's going to be a lot of strike spam. There's going to be a lot of cheap champions running away with the game, and then we're going to start seeing phasing out of the anything kind of 3 and up is going to go back to being bad again. So way back I made a video about why 2 mana champs were too strong, and they were, and they got nerfed, and Eternal became a much healthier play space, and now they undid that because again they lost the game director, and then pro players went to HQ, and all of a sudden we're back to making bad decisions again. Cool. The next one we're going to talk about is Elder Dragon. So I had said that Eternal was basically in a perfectly balanced state. They could have just not made any of these major changes and left Eternal where it was for the new season, and I think everyone would have been happy to do that and just play on ladder. But they made another big change, which was they turbo nerfed ramp. So Elder Dragon turbo nerfed all of his play effects have been nerfed, so now you no longer will have guaranteed largest units on the board, because you don't get the 1+0, the 1+1, the 1+1, and the 1+1 here. It's not make or break because typically Challenger and Deathless are the best options. You put Death, and then the other big keystone card they got rid of, which is the 6 mana dragon, which is Enraged Fire Spitter. So Enraged Fire Spitter got turbo nerfed. And that sucks because, again, you could kind of put this in a Freljord ramp shell with Eddie, and as Eddie as a one-of, and that was kind of the new cool ramp deck. I wanted to see how that would perform in the Eternal season. And now that deck just doesn't get to play the game, and we're back to Akshan and Samara. That sucks, because you would ramp and then play this on turn 5, on mana 5, right? And then that was pretty good. To kind of turbo ramp into Rage Fire Spitter, ping something, drag something. Okay, now we've reset the board, and now we're back to square one, with the help of avalanches and Blighted Ravines and stuff like that. And that actually allowed ramp to kind of go off a little bit in Eternal, and compete with other decks, but that's gone now. So you just don't get that. So now when Akshan and Samara come down on 2 and start solitaring, there's just there's just nothing you can do. There's just nothing a Ramshale will be able to do into the Samara or the Akshan. It's gonna be pretty ugly. What else? Well, those were the big champ changes. They made some cursory changes to followers, which again don't really matter. Typically they're just flavor changes. To the follower space, nothing that's going to be highly impactful, but I just wanted to talk about the champs because that's really the big thing at the end of the day. And of course I'm going to start with the most competitive changes and the most impactful changes first, because that's the way that I talk about this game, because I talk to you guys, it's real talk from me. Undir getting a point of health, yeah, that's great. Again, give him Garen stats, it's not going to matter. It's fine. This is mostly going to be impactful for Standard, and it's nice to see Undir be a little bit better for Standard, but in Eternal it's not going to matter because, again, by the time that Undir even lands, they're going to flip Samara and be rallying into your face with 3 robots. That's the power scale of a deck we're talking about right now. That's by the time you play Undir on 5, that's going to already happen. So again, cool buff for Undir. And again, the follower buffs, nice to see, just little follower tweaks. But the big swings I'm not liking to see here is, again, pushing for that 2 mana champ slot. That's always been bad for LOR. And then, nerfing ramp when ramp didn't really need nerfs outside of the Standard context. So again, these changes are all fine for Standard. But for Eternal, which is the new season that's coming up, these changes are kind of across the board bad. And yeah, so again, I can only say that this is really a sign of kind of grasping at straws, trying to appease whatever pro players are left in the game, and short-sightedness, which again is kind of been LOR's problem all along. And really just like, please, for the love of God, come back. We'll do anything. You want 2 mana Lee Sin? We'll give you 2 mana Lee Sin. Hell, make Rise 3 mana. You know, they did buff Rise as well. So just like, for the love of God, we'll do anything. Please come back. Alright, this is Eternal King signing out.